Hello, everyone. It's Nikki Batgirl D'Angelo here for another State of the Game. It seems there was a tiny bit of dissension amongst some of my viewers last week when I mentioned possibly talking about other games during this one of my shows. Now, my original plan for State of the Game was that it was State of My Game. It was going to be me talking about the games that I play, about what I've done that week. But it seems like we have a 50-50 split based on people that commented over what they expect this series to be. And I'm going to leave it up to you. If you don't mind me talking about like my life in gaming for the last week, which is my State of the Game, then just give me a little note in the comments below about that. If you do mind me talking about other games and want me to stick on your subject, not my subject, and talk about just Star Citizen, you put a comment in there. And at the end of this week, I'll decide which way I'm going to go. So this week, we're going to talk about Star Citizen. And it's going to be a biggie. Well, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to talk about the next giveaway, the next Hangar Flare giveaway, and it's going to be this. This is essentially a bar, and you can walk up to it and you can drink, except something is broken in it. I'm supposed to be able to drink. And I'm supposed to be able to drink. It's kind of funny. I like the little sounds. And then I'm supposed to be able to drink. And as I drink, I'm supposed to get drunk. According to Chris, that this worked in the preliminary patch, what they had put up before releasing it, but it did not make it into the release. So I could sit here all day and have, the constitution of, I guess, whoever that girl was in the original Indiana Jones, where she drank the Germans under the table. Because I could drink all day long and not get drunk. Kind of funny. But we will be giving this away. And I talked a little bit about what it is the last time I did a show. So this is definitely the giveaway for this show. And I will come up with something by the end of this show that you will have to do to be able to win it. And I think this is pretty cool. I'm actually loving it a lot. So let's talk about the last week, okay? And you know what? Before we start talking, we're going to need a drink. There's a lot that went on this last week, and you have to read between the lines, of course, as always. And sometimes I'm not sure if some of the information I got was from Ben, who I talk to occasionally, and or if it is from one of the other pieces of information, news information that we get each week. So there is going to be a lot of information that comes out over the next month and a half, 2 months. A lot of design documents, a lot of documents describing the mechanics within the game. The mechanics specifically that detail how salvage is going to work, how the FPS system is going to work, how mining is going to work, how surveying and exploration is going to work. And those pieces are getting done now. Because at this particular point, because the game is 18 months away, they need to start getting those things down. And those things not just on paper, but into a working alpha. So those things are going to start coming out. And my question to you is, what is the most important element to be done first? Now, obviously, we already have the dogfighting down. So if you were to have a mechanic, would it be mining? Would it be surveying, exploration, search and rescue, first-person shooting? Would it be engine tuning and modifications? What would it be? When I think naturally, I think that, all right, we have down the not the first-person shooting, but right now we have Arena Commander. Which one of those things are going to most directly affect Arena Commander? And on the top of my mind is engine tuning and modifications and overclocking of weapons and other systems. Those things mean a lot, right? Now, as we get closer to version 2.0 of the release of this game, I can see some of those other elements coming into play. But I think those are the first two that I would say we need to go for. What do you think about that? I think that I'm right. Actually, I don't. I think that there can be a little bit of conversation on this, and I'd like to see what you have to say, and then I'll bring it to Ben this week when I talk to him. So, the questions that I want to field this week, and I have a couple that I want to pick from already. So, I'd like to get one or two questions this week from what do you think is the most important mechanic that they work on next? All right, so before we go on, I want to go out here and I want to thank everybody for taking part in all the contests that I put out there. And I really want to congratulate Sam for winning this. Now, he'll be getting his own, and if he doesn't, I will go down to Santa Monica and push the button to put it in his hangar myself. But he'll be getting his own. This is a Freelancer MIS, one of my favorite ships. I say that a lot, but it's one of my favorite ships in the game. I love the Freelancer, and that goes for any of the Freelancers. The MIS itself was mainly because I liked the military version of it, with being able to have so many weapons on it at once. Here we are looking at the loading screen. Isn't that wonderful? I am just sitting here doing my video cast and I get disconnected. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to keep my thought process and get logged back in again. So I will talk to you in just a few minutes. Here I am back yet again. I can't believe that just happened. It's not too often that you see a break in my network. I have a very, very fast internet in this home, and that rarely happens. Anyway, I was congratulating Sam on the win of the Freelancer MIS and thanking all of you that actually put in your time, right? Sharing my video cast. And I really appreciate it. And let's go down. And Ben, on one of the shows in the last couple of weeks, said that yes, indeed, the next contest he would like to donate for, and it's going to be a Redeemer with LTI. So there it is over there. So if you want to get a Redeemer, if you didn't want to pay the $250 to $275 for it, you can just share my videos, any one of them, every one of them that I do. It doesn't matter if they're Star Citizen or Around the World or Elite Dangerous or World of Tanks. And you can possibly win this little baby over here. Now that's going to bring me into the second part of tonight's conversation. All right? So it's not, I don't expect that all of you follow every single thing I do. That would be totally narcissistic, right? So I started a new series that has to do with something I like to do, and it has to do with, it has to do with X-Plane, and was supposed to have to do with Flight Simulator, but it has to do with X-Plane, all right? And what I'm doing is I'm trying to bring attention to the men and women, young men and women that are giving their time, putting their lives on the line, defending freedom for the different nations of the world. And it started out on Veterans Day, and I'm flying around the world. But I've gotten an opportunity over the last 2 weeks to fly a little bit in X-Plane 10.3 in Prepared Professional, which some people call Prepare 3D. And then, yes, I was able to get Flight Simulator working. It crashes, it's buggy, but it's something I've been playing for a really long time. And I got to fly in these. And then I needed to get an aircraft, and I got myself a DA-42 from Diamond, which is a ultra-modern, really updated general aviation aircraft with multi-engines, and is made with today's technology to lighten the load on the pilot, and it's really cool. But the good thing is, although it was created in real life, it wasn't created by Laminar Research. It wasn't created by Lockheed Martin. It wasn't created by Microsoft. It was created by an individual. And just like this ship in front of us was created by a backer, the ship itself, the aircraft itself that I purchased was pretty much created by someone that plays the game and loves the game. A company that wants to make money, but still it was a third party. So the question is, if we're building this ultra-realistic, dynamic persistent universe in the Star Citizen universe, right? We're building it to exist. Is there a place for people to actually create ships within the specs of Cloud Imperium games that would fit into the game, but create ships? When I started looking for GA aircraft, there aren't 10s or 20s, but far more than 20 different general aviation aircraft that I could have purchased for my trip around the world. Which means that those of us that are saying there's way too many ships in the game give the people at CIG an opportunity to get the ships out for us to build the ones that we want in the game. I kind of agree with. But why can't these people that have that skill set, build assets for the game that we could purchase? Now, this is over 2 years away, or maybe 2 years away. We're not asking it for the single-person campaign game called Squadron 42. What we are asking for is to see if they can do this in-game. And how do you think that would work? Would it work? I really support this because we have such an exceptionally skilled backer base. I mean, look at all of the people that were in the Next Great Starship contest. Look at the skill set that they all had. Some of them didn't deliver because of time constraints, but all of them delivered in design and in commitment to the game. So while we get great designs like the M50 and Mustang, and, well, you're not going to get the Mustang out of David Haddock anymore, David Hobbins anymore, because he's working for Disney or LucasArts. But you get great designs out of the people that are they're at CIG. But you're going to get a single set of designs. You're not going to get that diversity that you see in real life unless you start opening up to people that have different design philosophies. And as long as they design within the constraints that are set out by Cloud Imperium games, I think that this is a good thing. Now, I know they said that they would allow this, but it's my understanding that they're going to allow this for private servers. I would love to see a store in-game where I could go up and buy a user-created vessel that may have been vetted and possibly, vetted by CIG and corrected by the original designer and then approved by CIG and sold in the store, but in-game for real credits. Or possibly, let's sell it on the pledge store so those backers that are creating these vessels can make money. What's your thought on this? I think that this would be an amazing piece of, an amazing addition for this game. I think it would work well. So there isn't going to be a lot coming out of CIG over the next 7 days. And I wish that was the case. That is not the case. There's a lot this week. Now, in 10 for the Chairman, we kind of see Chris being a little giddy about getting a gift that was a book that detailed the production of, I think it was The Empire Strikes Back, if my mind doesn't fail me right now. And I wonder how we're going to feel like 10 years from now if we have a book that's detailed about his development of this game. I'm just taking a side note on this for just 1 second. Just as I think about all the information that's going to start coming out. We have the ship sale starting at the end of this week on Friday, and that's the anniversary sale that they have every week. It's a very trying time for me because we have the Steam sale, where a lot of games go on sale on Steam. You have Black Friday in that week. You have friends, family gathering and giving thanks for whatever you want to give thanks for this year. And this is in the USA. Overseas, I'm not sure what happens. And then, of course, you have the mad rush of people going out to buy Christmas stuff, not just because it's Black Friday, because Thanksgiving is over. So we have this big ship sale coming out, and we have version 1.0, which to me is version 0.1.0, and right now we're on version 0.0.9.2.1. Yeah, I'm crazy about this, but we're still in alpha, and to call it version 1 doesn't make sense. But we're going to have version 1 coming out, which means that this baby over here and quite a few other ships that we haven't been allowed to fly yet are going to be in game. Probably the one right behind it. So these two Aegis Dynamics ships. So when we look at it and we think, all right, so the holidays coming up, there's not going to be a lot of information coming out. Get ready for your heads to spin. I'm going to have Ben on again this week, and we're going to ask him some questions that y'all are going to give me to ask him, and I'm going to ask my 2 questions of him. We're going to have a design document dropped on us about FPS. We're going to have that new anniversary ship sale, and then we have that alluded release of version 1.1 coming down the pipe pretty soon. This is going to be a big week. It's going to be hard to keep up with it, and I'm going to ask you for a little bit of forgiveness if I don't get to everything in one show. Last year during this week, I did 1 show a night. That is not going to happen this year. Last year, I was crazy to do that, but it was important. We saw sales of things like the Banu Merchantman, the Caterpillar, the Starfarer. We saw the M50, we saw the 350R, we saw the Aurora LX. We saw a lot of ships go up for sale last year. This year, they're saying they're going to do it differently. And I wonder what that means. I wonder if that means they're just going to have a couple of ships, or if they're just going to open up all the ships for LTI for the whole week. I doubt it's going to be that one. But it's making me wonder. And the second piece of that goes back to how I started these State of the Games. All right, they're going to have a ship sale. We need more money to be infused into CIG. That is no doubt, right? They still need money. If they're paying $80,000 a month for keeping the network infrastructure going, they need money to run this game. They probably spent most of the initial $30 million that they made in the first year, right? So, am I going to run out and buy a bunch of ships? Well, first off, I know that can't happen. I have 3 children and it's Christmas time. I have a roommate who just became a U.S. citizen. I'd like to get her something. So I think this year, unless it's reinvested cash from my patrons that are so wonderful to donate to the show, I don't foresee taking a big part in that ship sale. But I will be pushing it because I think that there will be some pretty impressive ships that will be going up for sale over the next 7 days. All right, let's get off of ship sales. Let's go into what we talked about last week. And last week I questioned, are we seeing CIG become a big company, or are they continuing to be the same company that they were? And I've made up my mind. And my mind is set on that they've changed. Not necessarily becoming a big company, but becoming more mature in what they are. Sometimes when you begin with this new company, you have a certain message to try to get your name out. Then you get your name out and you take on a big task. And some companies become really big after that. And some companies continue with that small company mentality. And I really believe that CIG is kind of taking a hybrid pathway to this, but erring on the side of staying small. They're trying to keep that initial company structure that they had. They're trying to keep doing the things the way that they did it in the beginning. Sorry for the noise, folks. They are continuing their transparency as far as I see it. Now, they have had some losses, but every big company has big losses. Just look at it this way. Blizzard's big losses have been CIG's big gains in the past few months. So CIG's big losses will be gains of whatever company that Eric begins, right? So things aren't going downhill. What I do see is a company maturing, beginning to put their message out better, not just saying redacted, not just saying no or we can't tell you that right now, but bringing us the information that we want. Not all of it, of course, because sometimes that information they don't know. They're trying to make it work and it's just not working. So they're not ready to give an answer. I trust CIG to a point, and I know that this is going to be a game that is out within the next 18 months. I can't wait for it. And as long as they keep on bringing me assets like this, these beautiful ships that I could walk through, that I can fly like some of the other ones in the hangar, well, I'll be giving them as much confidence as I can. I have confidence in them that this game will be made and that things will come to pass. I know it, and I know it's going to be a good one. I hope those of you that have been watching my other series will give me some pointers on what to do with that next. My other series being around the world. I am talking about that because it's important to me. It's important because I've started it with the plan on bringing attention to the young men and women fighting for our freedom throughout the world. And I would love for some of you to take part in giving me ideas on what to do next. But this is Star Citizen, and what we're here for is we're here for the ships. And I am very psyched that the ship I am in, the Freelancer MIS, made by MISC, will soon be joined by a sibling called the Reliant. And that will be the next starter ship in the game. You like how I brought that one in there, huh? So what I want for this week's contest before I end is I want to know what your choice for the new starter ship was. And not just what your choice was, but what your reasoning was. That's all I would like to know. And if you don't have any opinion, tell me what you did want them to build and why you wanted them to build that. And send that to theaddictedgamer@gmail.com and make sure you put SOG 10 Anger Flare Contest in the subject field. Alrighty folks, that's all I have for this week. I will talk to you soon. Oh,